It is the third race of the weekend, the third round of the championship, and we're at Brands Hatch for the BRDC British F3's season opener. And this final race of the weekend, for which the cars will shortly be brought forward to the grid, is going to be the reverse grid. Not the race results reversed, but the reverse of the qualifying order. So the format for grid's slightly different these days, but it's still going to be a very interesting race, I'm sure, with the cars starting in this reverse from their qualifying times. Pole position, therefore, is going to go to Rima Jafali, who was the slowest in the qualifying session, but on that reversal pole position, and of course the pole position driver, which is Ayrton Simmons, goes to the very back of the grid. There are fewer championship points on offer, but there are of course points for the number of places gained from your grid position to your finishing position to try and stimulate the overtaking. So we'll have an eye on the likes of Ayrton Simmons, for example, and Zach O'Sullivan as the two race winners of the weekend to see what progress they can make. The cars are now being brought forward to the grid. You can just see the dots in the distance as out comes Rima Jafali, and it will be Max Maserati to line up with her at the front of the grid. Now, one of the other elements to factor into this is who is doing what with tyres. There's a finite number of new tyres, so if you're way back on the grid for a race like this where there are fewer points on offer, you don't really want to waste a new set. Used is probably the way to go. But there are drivers up near the front, because of a bad qualifying, who could, with a new set of tyres, actually benefit from this reverse grid. Could be their chance to have their, if you like, day in the sun. So Rima Jafali there, look, is on pole position. Now she's on half a new set, whereas a fully new set being run by the second row drivers of Mikkel Grundtvig and by Javier Segura. There is Max Maserati. He's on a half set, so normally the brand new ones are going to go on the rear. And for Chris Dittman Racing, Max Maserati, who's worked oh so hard to raise the funding for his racing. He has taken on just about every job you could possibly imagine, has Max, whether it's been a morning shift in a biscuit factory, painter and decorator, local authority, door-to-door survey operative, school holiday club assistant, you name it. If there's money to be found, money to be raised for his racing, Max has done it. On the second row of the grid, Mikkel Grundtvig and there Javier Segura in the Elite Motorsport car. Now they're the two on the fully new set of tyres, which might give them, should give them, the advantage. So they're the two to watch on the first few laps of the race. The third row, there, number 99, that is Jose Garfias, who retired from yesterday's race and was 14th earlier on today, and 55, Dexter Patterson, who's had a 13th and an 11th as his results will line up. There he is in the Douglas car alongside. So Rima Jafali on the front of the grid, a 15th and a 16th she has had. Max Maserati a 14th and a 13th. Who's been the most consistent? Well, Zach O'Sullivan has had a third and a first, and Oliver Bierman has had 2 seconds, and it's O'Sullivan who comes into this as the championship leader. Second is Oliver Bierman, and Reese Ushijima is third in the championship with a 5th and a 3rd for the California-born Japanese driver. So that is how we stand then, going into this 12-lap or 20-minute race, depending on which is achieved first. We had a delayed start for the second race because Alex Force fell off on the green flag lap, did lots of damage to his CDR entry. We then had a first lap tangle between Bart Horston and Ayrton Simmons. More damage for a CDR car, Ayrton Simmons being a CDR Chris Dittman Racing driver as well. So it's been a team with a lot of work to have sorted out through the break. And let's see, hopefully we won't get safety cars, which will therefore affect how many laps we get into the race. There is Jose Garfias, number 99. As I say, he retired from race 1, 14th earlier on in the day, new to Brands Hatch, so a learning curve for him here. So very shortly the cars will be released onto the formation lap. All of these cars, of course, the Tatio chassis. They've got the Mount Hugh Duratec engine in the back and Pirelli rubber, and they're putting rubber on the ground is Rima Jafali as she accelerates away. Put rubber down on the track now and then park exactly on it for the start of the race. It's going to give you that traction off the line. Let's have a look at the grid then as the cars accelerate their way up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Remember, this is the reversal of the qualifying session. So the Saudi Arabian Rima Jafali on pole position, alongside her Max Maserati. It is Douglas Motorsport and CDR at the front of the grid. Mikkel Grundtvig on his new tyres, third, and new tyres also for Javier Segura, fourth, Fortec and Elite on the second row of the grid. Row 3, Jose Garfias, also for Elite, half a set of the new tyres for him, and another driver on a half set, Dexter Patterson. So 2 used, 2 new tyres being run by those drivers. 7th is Christian Mansell. He's another driver on a half set, and half a set of new tyres for Bryce Aaron. 8th in the Carlin entry, Bryce Aaron having had a 10th and a 9th so far. Alex Fors with a retirement and a non-start effectively. He's next on the grid. Used tyres. Sebastian Alvarez also on used rubber alongside him. He's had an 11th and an 8th. Tom Levin, used tyres for him, a 9th and a 7th thus far. And 6th in the championship is Alex Connor. He's had a 7th and a 5th, and he's on used tyres as well. So too is Frederick Lubin, who lines up next on the grid. Frederick Lubin is a man with a 6th and a 4th to his name. Reese Ushijima is next, used tyres for him, 5th and 3rd, his results of the weekend. Bart Horston retired from race 2 and was 4th in race 1. He's on used tyres, as is Roberto Faria alongside him. Retirement with a collision with Alex Fors in race 1, and 6th in the second race of the weekend for him. Zach O'Sullivan won the second race. He's on used rubber as well. Zach O'Sullivan 3rd and a 1st. 2 seconds for Oliver Bierman alongside him. He's on used rubber. And Ayrton Simmons with a win and a retirement is on used tyres to round out the grid. So that is the way they line up, or will line up shortly, for this 3rd round of the BRDC British F3 Championship. 19 cars for the opening event is the highest for the season opener since 2016, which is great for the championship to be in good health in the light of everything. And as the cars now wriggle their way up towards Sheen Curve, they're going through. 21 is Christian Mansell, the Australian. 8th and 10th Christian has had, starting his own hashtag on social media in the week of Mansell Mania, with a nod to Nigel's efforts of a few decades ago. So the drivers trying to get as much warmth as they can into the Pirelli tyres, and it's not exactly the warmest of days at Brands Hatch. The sun was out this morning, and just as we got excited about that, we decided it would go somewhere else for the day. It has been windy, cold, a bit rainy, but what has been really good is that this event at Brands Hatch has had fans trackside, and they were here when the gates were open at 7 o'clock this morning, eager to get a vantage point, eager to get back out, hear racing cars, smell racing cars once more, and enjoy a day out at Brands Hatch. And I'm sure it's the same at other circuits that have been able to open the gates this weekend as well for fans to national motorsport. And it has certainly added to the weekend. A race is a race is a race, but just seeing people in the background, just seeing more people on the banking, people in the paddock, more cars parked around the circuit, it's just given it a whole different feel that perhaps we didn't realise we'd lost until you have it back. So as the cars head to the grid, it is Rima Jafali on pole position, and with her at the front, Max Maserati then. So for the Saudi Arabian, Rima Jafali, the Douglas Motorsport car into position now. For CDR, Max Maserati alongside, and the last driver, Ayrton Simmons, at the back of the grid. So Ayrton here is going to need a good run to see what progress can be made for points. And I was about to say that the grid is slightly jumbled at the rear, but it's Oliver Bierman who was being a bit slow to get into his grid position. He's there now, so the 5-second board is shown. Drivers look towards the lighting gantry, and when the lights go out, the 3rd round of the championship gets underway with a good start made by Maserati. Bad start made on his new tyres by Mikkel Grundtvig, looking the red and white colours, and that means that round the outside there goes Christian Mansell, also Bryce Aaron, as the cars dive up towards paddock for the first time. Do they all make it through safely? Nah, of course not. There's one in the gravel already, so the dust settled. Let's see who we've lost. Round the outside line there goes Javier Sagrera, but it's a very good start seemingly by the Carlin entry as they drop downhill for the first time. So that was the grid order, but on track it is all very different as they accelerate then for the first time down to Surtees, and as it is Christian Mansell, I reckon, in the lead from 7th on the grid. The safety car is being deployed because there's one in the gravel over at Paddock Hill Bend, and that is Alvarez, who has not got as far as the end of the first sector. So Sebastian Alvarez, who would have been 10th on the grid, he's walking away from his car. That's it. Day done. So Sebastian Alvarez out of the race, and the safety car is deployed then. So we'll start to see who the winners and losers are. But Christian Mansell then, 7th to 1st. That's not a bad tranche over the first couple of corners in terms of places gained and points earned. 34 going through. That's Tom Levin, the reigning Ginetta Junior champion, making the step up for Elite Motorsport. And oh dear, Max Maserati has had to shortcut the lap to get back into the pit lane. This has been a pretty bad day, hasn't it, for CDR, with 2 damaged cars in race 2, 1 damaged car in race 3, and Maserati was on the front of the grid. Now let's look at it all again. Rima Jafali gets away rather sideways. Brilliant start by Mansell. The gap's just opened up for him, so Christian Mansell from the inside of the road to the outside pounces and gets the advantage. Have a look from row 4. Look, there he is. Gap, gap, gap. Weaves his way around the outside. And there's contact up the road. Jafali and Maserati got together. That delays Max Maserati. And somewhere in this melee, look, Alvarez, possibly with assistance, gets spat out to the left. And Maserati's car is instantly hobbled. He's very, very slow, as you saw, going through paddock. Look in the background. There he is on the inside line. And drama for Sebastian Alvarez off the road. Christian Mansell's start, though, just outstanding. So Mansell leads the way. Safety car has now scooped him up, and we're on lap 2 of 12, and it's a 20-minute timed race. So whichever is done first, the number of laps all the time, which means if it's a lengthy safety car period, it's likely to go more to the clock than the number of laps. So there is Frederick Lubin, and he is 13th. He's actually where he started. He's the one person, can you believe, that's not gained any places. So Mansell up 6. Rhys Oshijima has gained 6. Oliver Bierman has gained 6. How many has Ayrton Simmons gained? Only 2, and Oliver Bierman 6 as well. What about Zach O'Sullivan? He's done 5, I think I'm right in saying. So the leaders now drop down through Hawthorns. The field on this second lap of the race. But of course the frustration they've got now is that they're behind the safety car, and that's going to mean fewer racing laps in which they can make the passes. So 4 places Bart Horston has gained. Who was the other one? Zach O'Sullivan. Actually, Zach O'Sullivan, 8 places. I'll tell you a lie. So 8 gained for him, whereas losing 9 from near the front of the grid is the Mexican driver Jose Garfias. There is Zach O'Sullivan, 51 in the background, just on the tail of Rhys Oshijima. So that's an outstanding effort, isn't it, by Zach O'Sullivan. Helped, you could argue, in part by other drivers having incidents ahead of him. Now the safety car is back in this time. Max Maserati rejoined, but has pulled off again by the look of it, as we are about to go racing then, as the leader comes across the line, Christian Mansell. So Mansell leads. Sagrera is in 2nd place, and 3rd was Rima Jafali, but now Dexter Patterson, her teammate, comes up to have a go on the outside line. In 5th place, Mikkel Grundtvig, and there he is on new tyres. Remember, Grundtvig, number 43 on the inside. So is Jafali, but she gets muscled out to the outside line. So Grundtvig now trying to use the new rubber to his advantage. He's gained 1 place up into 4th. Bryce Aaron there in the Carlin car, right round the outside of Jafali with a hop and a skip and a jump over the curb, but he takes the place, then has to go defensive. Behind is Alex Falls as well. Look to the outside line in the Chris Dittman Racing colours, almost touching wheels. The cars twitch, they go to the corner. And keep an eye out of all of this as well. There, 51, Zach O'Sullivan, more places gained than anybody, and he's about to have a go at Rhys Oshijima. So Zach O'Sullivan is a man on a mission. He comes into this as the championship leader. Drops down now through Hawthorn, through the right at the back of the pack. There is the car of Ayrton Simmons still hunting places as the leaders turn through. So we have got Maserati after his travails out of the race. We've got Alvarez through the gravel out of the race. The leaders work lap number 3, and there's contact there. That is Falls getting into the back of Jafali. Off they both go into the gravel, and I rather fear that could be yet another interruption to get 2 of them out of the way. Alex Falls has really been in the walls in this weekend, hasn't he? He got involved with Roberto Faria in race 1 and got a penalty for it. He didn't make the start of race 2 because he crashed on his own on the green flag lap. He's now triggered another incident, and the safety car is being deployed for the 2nd time. So out gets Rima Jafali, and Alex Falls was the aggressor. Let's have a look, and just get straight into the back. He will say she braked early, but either way, they're both out of the race. And as I say, Alex Falls might have a bit of explaining to do at the end of this weekend, because he's been involved in an accident in the 2 races he started, and he managed to crash himself out. Nobody else involved on the green flag lap for the other one, which he didn't then start. So it's not exactly been his best of weekends, sad to say. So there is Christian Mansell in the lead. The safety car is out there. Safety car will have done more laps than some of the competitors at this rate, plenty more actually. And it's there again. So frustration for the race control team. They can't really get the race underway properly because of these assorted incidents. And as the cars come down towards Hawthorne, Christian Mansell is probably about the only one thinking, well, that's fine, you know, I'm in the lead. The more you keep interrupting things, the less chance there is of people overtaking me because there are fewer racing laps, especially given that the man behind him, Javier Sagrera, has had 2 12th places. So in terms of pure pace, you wouldn't anticipate him to be necessarily a major factor here. All the weaving around is to try and maintain the warmth and the pressures in the Pirelli tyres. Actually, the fastest lap of the race, and we've not had many of them, racing laps, was to Sagrera last time. But little good did it do us because we're back behind the safety car. Of course, the tyres also struggling to get any sensible temperature into them because they're not having enough proper flat-out running. So Alex Faux's car out of the way, but there's only the one recovery vehicle, so they've got to get rid of that and then go back out and get Rima Jafali's car. And they're not on speaking terms, are they? Alex keeping his distance from a rather irate Rima Jafali. You can understand why. So the safety car over the line, and Christian Mansell then leading the way. An 8th and a 10th for the Australian driver. Could well be a win here. He is on a half new set of tyres, new rears, comes over the line. Second place, Javier Sagrera, and third is Dexter Patterson. Now, what progress has he made? He has gained, what, for his grid position? He started 6th, so yeah, not as much as others, but a reasonable haul. And 8 laps to go, or just under 12 minutes, which is now looking as though it's going to be for the time, isn't it? Cars coming through Druids. So a quirk, not a quirk, I should phrase that differently, a change to the regulations, a different way of doing the, if you like, reverse grid race for this year. Rather than it being the reversal of a race result, it's the reversal of qualifying. And you can't necessarily say, oh, well, it's a reverse grid race that's given all the safety car periods, because it doesn't always follow that way at other venues. Drivers, when they attack, sometimes get it right, sometimes get it wrong, and that was the case for Alex Faux, and inevitably, Paddock Hill Bend on the opening lap is always a pinch point, isn't it? And we saw that for Sebastian Alvarez. So we're on lap 5, there's 11 minutes to go. So we're heading towards half distance. At the back of the pack there, 99, is Jose Garfias. Etten Simmons hasn't really benefited hugely here. Pace is gained in a sense by people falling off the road, but Etten Simmons unable to make much progress, largely because we haven't had enough racing laps for him to do anything as yet, because every time he starts to try and attack, out comes the safety car again. That's Rima Jafali finding out from a marshal whether she needs to stay there or she can head through the woods back to the pit lane. And the team, Oliver Bierman goes through, running 10th on the road. He's had 2 second places, second in the championship. Not doing the entire season, he's splitting his time between Italian and German F4, and as many of these as he can fit in. The benefit of German and Italian F4 is that it's the same car and engine, the Abarth engine. So 2 championships, but the same car, you're gaining huge amounts of experience of it for 2 championships that way. So there's the pole-sitting car, Rima Jafali's car taken away. It's going to be 1 more lap behind the safety car, isn't it? And 9 3/4 minutes on the clock. Of course, the races have this timed element to them, and there are still 2 more races at Brands Hatch to go today. And there's the tight curfew as well. The next race is due to start in 10 minutes' time. We've got 9.5 minutes of this, so inevitably the timetable is going to slip a little. So over the line they all pour. And Rima Jafali glowers at the gravel trap that ensnared her, but it was not her fault. She was certainly given a rough ride by Alex Faux, who arrived far too quickly behind, and contact was made. So there's the cars go up to Druids. Tom Levin, where's he ready for the restart? 9th. And Oliver Bierman is behind him, 2 that you can anticipate to be on their toes on the restart. Mikkel Grundtvig, the best of those, sorry, the second of those, I should say, on new tyres. The other one being Javier Sagrera, will be looking to make progress, but can Sagrera use on the restart this time the new rubber to make a bid for the race lead. Christian Mansell just looks the stronger of the two, even though he's got 2 used tyres on the car. Safety car in this lap, lights will be out. It's going to give us now 8.5 minutes of the race to go. So it's going to be the best part of 7 minutes, just under maybe, when we get racing at the end of this lap, then, as the cars now head towards the right-hander of Hawthorn. Safety car in this time. Drivers, you can see, vigorously weaving. Christian Mansell waiting to make sure that the lights go out before he starts to plan the restart. Ideally, he'll bunch everybody up, and then when he's ready, he will accelerate. And when he does so, he's got to keep on accelerating. You can't go and slow, because, of course, that then means you get the heavy braking and lots of drama and possible accidents behind. So there are the lights out. Mansell now does indeed stack them all up behind him. And when he's ready, he'll start to accelerate away into Stirling's. They will come this time. That was the incident zone. Javier Sagrera knows he's got to stay with him to give the new tyres, a whole new set of tyres, that chance to perform properly. And now down they come into clearways. Mansell has got the advantage by a couple of lengths, but Sagrera on the better tyres should be able to stay with him then as they come across the line to put 6 laps in the book. 7 minutes just over remains as we go racing again at Brands Hatch. Now, safety cars breed safety cars. Are we going to get another one before the very end? As there, look, Risa Shijima tries to fend off the challenge of Zach O'Sullivan going through Paddock Hill Bend. And Tom Leben, does he lose out? I think Oliver Bierman has just gone around the outside of him as they come up the hill. Let's see, there is Bart Horstern, and yes, Bierman's ahead of Leben. So up to 9th goes Oliver Bierman. Down through Graham Hill Bend for the race leaders as the clock ticks on down. 7 minutes then, we're on lap 7. Green flags fly once again here at Brands Hatch. We're back racing as Simmons lines up to have a go on the inside of Alex Connor, and he goes through. Connor dropping down the order rather than making progress. 6th in the championship, but on his used tyres he's struggling, and Ethan Simmons gains a place, and his next target is Roberto Faria. To the inside line there against Bryce Aaron goes, look, the car of Mikkel Grundtvig as he tries to get his place back, but Grundtvig gets mugged, so even on new rubber it ain't working for him. That puts Aaron up into 4th. Ushijima now comes up to challenge as well behind. 78 Frederick Lubin trying to make progress from 11th place as Ushijima dives down through Stirling's. But up front, the leader's starting to edge away. Christian Mansell then it is, with Javier Sagrera in that 2nd place, out of clearways into Clark Curve. 6 minutes on the clock, and now we'll see what a proper flying lap time might be. The best lap thus far done by Javier Sagrera, with the new rubber working for him as across the line. Mansell is now quicker than anybody, and he extends the advantage to over a second. Tom Leben goes through. Frederick Lubin behind him as they dive into Paddock Hill Bend this time. Make the climb up towards Druids. Ethan Simmons' next target there, Roberto Faria, but he's been stuck behind him for a lap, still hasn't found a way by. Coming downhill once again, those two, as now, look, Christian Mansell is leading not only by a second, but another 2 tenths added on, because he's just done that in the 1st sector. But, interestingly, better than anybody in Sector 1 is Bryce Aaron now, in 4th place. So the American driver taking over, if you like, the Caleb Fredericks seat, the American that won the championship for Carlin last year. He's 4th and quicker than others in sectors, as Leben defends from Lubin as they come now down into Hawthorn. This is for 10th place. Frederick Lubin trying to make progress forward. And behind is Faria. Behind Faria is Simmons. So Ethan Simmons from last on the grid, 13th last time around. What can he do now? Cars turn their way out of Stirling's. The race leader remains Christian Mansell. Others are improving in sectors. He's one of them actually doing purples, but Bryce Aaron is a man on a mission. So the man that's 4th, hunting down Dexter Patterson, he's almost with him. Leaders go through, 1.4 is the margin. Aaron 4th does the best lap of the race. There, look, number 13, Rhys Ushijima, closing on Mikkel Grundtvig. So the Fortec car just up the road ahead. That's Bryce Aaron then, new fastest lap of the race to the American. Can he go for 3rd place? He's only 4 tenths back from Dexter Patterson. After that, life might be a little bit more difficult, but with 4 minutes to go, he's almost there. Over that timing line, turn left onto the power, drag the car out of Surtees, and up front, Christian Mansell it is, leading the way, getting away from the opposition here. So Patterson in the 1st sector did a 26 1, fractionally quicker actually than Aaron behind him. Tom Leven's done the absolute best sector 1 time, but Aaron, the fastest lap of the race to his credit, comes out of Westfield, dropped down the hill here. Now they make the climb up through the right-hand flick of Sheen Curve and then set the car out for that left, slightly banked corner there. You can see it of Sterling's. Fire the car off that and down again towards Clearways. Then Clark Curve beckons. In the background, Bart Horston's repaired car looks to the inside, partly to try to attack Zach O'Sullivan, partly to fend off Oliver Bierman. We've got just over 3 minutes then of the race to go as the leaders go through. And Mansell creeping away from Sagrera, despite him being on 2 old tyres compared to a fully new set of Sagrera. The gap, 1.5 seconds now. This is the climb up the hill then. 87 is Ollie Bierman, and he's there, tucked up behind. Bart Horston, the American, keeping the British driver at bay. First time we've seen Oliver Bierman race cars in the UK. Very successful karter, but having to learn, oddly it seems, about British race circuits. Fastest lap of the race, Tom Leben, and this is for 3rd place now. Dexter Patterson under attack from Bryce Aaron. To the outside line goes the American. He's not quite going to be level, but he's going to serve intent. Can he now get the switch to the inside line as they come out of the corner? No, he can't. Thinks about it for Westfield. He's trying to unsettle Patterson all the time here. Dexter Patterson, the 17-year-old British driver, drove in Italy last year in the Italian F3 Championship. As the cars flick up towards Sterling's, he's being hustled along, isn't he? Right there behind him is Aaron in 4th spot. Go left, back onto the power now. Into Clark Curve. So we've got 2 laps to go, looking at the clock. The race leader has just gone by, so Mansell has got, 2 laps to go and enough time to do those 2. So he's just going to fit the 10 laps in here. As they're swinging through Paddock Hill Bend goes the 3rd place fight, Dexter Patterson versus Bryce Aaron, who saw race here in the Formula Ford Festival at the back end of last season, so he knows the Indy circuit a bit well, and he's adapting all the time to the Grand Prix loop. So down through the left of Graham Hill Bend come the race leaders then, but Christian Mansell is now well clear. 1.6 seconds is the margin that he has built up over, in 2nd place, Javier Sagrera. In 3rd is Dexter Patterson, but for how much longer? Because Bryce Aaron is right on his tail now. Through they come together. In 5th, but not really making the progress, Mikkel Grundtvig, and it's disappointing that because he's on, remember, a whole new set of tyres, but Grundtvig has not been able to make the best of them. That's Bart Horston keeping Ollie Bierman at bay. Those 2 run together for 8th and 9th places, and Bierman has not done yet, has he? He could yet gain another place before the very end here. Through they turn up out of Sheen Curve. Tom Leben also is busy trying to defend, because behind Leben there is Frederick Lubin. Those 2 turn through together once again now as the cars accelerate their way towards the timing line. Onto the last lap is about to go then. The race leader, through goes Christian Mansell, so he's going to get the 12 laps in just. With 20-odd seconds on the clock, he gets onto his last lap. He is 1.6 seconds clear of Sagrera. In 3rd is still Patterson ahead of Aaron. That could yet change on this last lap as Bryce Aaron tees up a move on the inside line. Couldn't do it. They've paired up for 5th as well, because Mikkel Grundtvig has been caught now by Rhys Ushijima. Then for 7th, it's still O'Sullivan, ahead of Horston, ahead of Bierman, ahead of Leben in 10th place. So there to the Grand Prix loop once again goes Bryce Aaron. Hunts down, as he has done for the last few laps, Dexter Patterson, but still not able to find a way by. Again, he gets himself into this dilemma. Does he attack for position, or does he bank the points? There are fewer points on offer, of course, in these reverse grid races, so arguably more positions count. You're also scoring for gaining places as well. There's that sort of separate point tally to factor into all of this as well. Rhys Ushijima, fastest lap of the race, running 6th now, closing on Mikkel Grundtvig. But the checkered flag is imminent, and it is going to be 3 different winners across the weekend. Christian Mansell will win this, Ayrton Simmons and Zach O'Sullivan the other winners. So a good varied start to the championship, as here out of the last corner up towards the timing line of the checkered flag comes Christian Mansell. It's been a long time since a Mansell won at Brands, you could argue, but the checkered flag is waved. Christian Mansell wins then in round 3 of the championship. 2nd, Javier Sagrera. 3rd goes the way of Dexter Patterson ahead of Bryce Aaron. Then Mikkel Grundtvig takes 5th ahead of Ushijima, O'Sullivan, Horston, Bierman, Leben to round out the top 10, with Rhys Ushijima doing the fastest lap of the race. Just 2 laps from home. but Christian Mansell has done it. He takes race honours in round 3 of the BRDC British F3 Championship, and the Australian driver then makes it 3 different winners across the 3 races here this weekend. And the 16-year-old Aussie, who was a race winner, including a win at Brands Hatch last year in the British F4 Championship, starting his campaign in good form here, because Christian Mansell with that race win to add to already an 8th and a 10th. Good start to the championship season. Less so for Rima Jafali, out of the race despite starting on pole position. So a race win for Christian Mansell. Javier Sagrera taking 2nd, and 3rd goes to Dexter Patterson. In 4th place, Bryce Aaron, ahead of Mikkel Grundtvig and Rhys Ushijima 6th. Zach O'Sullivan taking 7th, ahead of Bart Horston, with 9th Ollie Bierman. Tom Levin in 10th place. 11th Frederick Lubin, ahead of Roberto Faria and Simmons. 13th in the end, not making the progress one might have anticipated. Alex Connor 14th, and 15th was Jose Garcias. We lost, of course, Jafali, Fors, Maserati and Alvarez in what was a fairly frantic start to the race. Let's have a look at the highlights then. Good getaway from Rima Jafali, but not good enough. Christian Mansell was the one that found all the gaps opening up around him, and he had the advantage as the cars turned their way through paddock. 7th to 1st, even before the first corner. Sebastian Alvarez got caught out on the outside and was in the gravel, and there was damage to Max Maserati's car, and he too was an early casualty, a pit stop and then retirement from the race. So that brought out the safety car. We had 2 safety car periods, but Christian Mansell was able to control both of them very effectively indeed, racing again, and he was able to keep on building that advantage as the cars turned their way onto the Grand Prix loop. There were other battles which came to nothing as Alex Fors got into the rear of Rima Jafali's car, and that put both of them out of the race and into the gravel. And as the safety car was out, not a glance was exchanged. Mansell, good on the restart, built up the advantage once again, and there was no stopping him, as Bryce Aaron put himself up into 4th and was able to go charging along. So down the hill went plunged, with Christian Mansell building the race lead. In the end, to win by 1.9 seconds, and 3 different race winners across the 3 races at Brands Hatch this weekend. Great racing for the BRDC British F3 Championship. Well done, Christian Mansell, winner of race 3.